Welcome back, everybody. We're doing the final part of the text adventure today. Sorry it's been so long, just have not had time to put this final part in. So here it is. This is the last thing you need to do. Basically, just to get the final two action prompts working when you're in the battle state. So last session we did the attacks, so you should have the sword, magic, and the range attacks programmed now. And that if we look at the battle state here, that is if they selected one. So if they selected one, that is what they were going to be doing here. So what we're going to be programming today is we're going to be looking at the check inventory and we're going to be looking at the run section here. So if they put 2 in, we want to check inventory. So it's important to make sure that we start this in the right place, because obviously we left it off. We've left this during an if statement. We've not really properly closed this out. So obviously we have this if decision is 1. This is 2 indents from the side here. So when we go down to where we're going to put this, we're going to just make sure that is indented twice with 2 tabs. So we now need an elif. So elif decision equals 2. We want to check the inventory. So in order to check the inventory, what we're going to do, we're going to turn off the battle state first of all. So that now equals 0. So all this is doing is it's just stopping the battle from occurring in the background. So what we're going to do is need to run the inventory show subroutine that we've already programmed. So inventory show. And then, so if we just go up here, we'll have a look and see what inventory show actually does. So we've already done this, so all it's going to do is it's going to print out you've got the following in your inventory. It'll open our inventory.txt file, it's going to read it, it's going to split it by the comma, it's going to print the contents. It makes that contents into a global variable, and then it prints out the contents one item at a time. So that is our inventory. So what will happen now, so we have the inventory printed out one item at a time. We need to now ask the user what it is they actually want to use. So I've got a couple of decision variables already. So I'm going to use decision x equals input. What would you like to use? Now, there is a couple of different ways you could do this. We're going to do this just the straightforward way to start. So what's going to happen is the user will need to type in the item they want to use exactly as it appears in the inventory list, and we will just check what they've put in decision X against the item in the inventory, and if both are exactly the same, then it will run the loot subroutine to apply the buff to the character. But the only issue with this is that the user will have to make sure that they type it in exactly as it appears. There are other things we can do to this later on down the line. We could give them a menu and things like that, but just for a little bit of ease for this, and this is our first program doing this, we're going to do it this way. So what we're going to do now is we're going to call another subroutine, inventory use, and with that subroutine we are going to take decision X, contents, and loot X. Now we've not made this subroutine yet because it's actually quite a long one, so I'm going to show you the setup of it, and then it all depends on what you've got saved in your text file. It's not a difficult one to program, so let me just show you how to do it. I'm going to go to the top because this is where all my subroutines are. Let's put it here. That's fine. So define inventory use, and then in here we just need to write in the variables again, so decision X, contents, and loot X. So what's this, oh, need to colon on the end there. So what this piece of code is actually going to do is it's going to allow different buffs depending on what piece of inventory our user actually has. So, so that's going to be blank. Check the loot table, see what we've got programmed in here. So it's an awful lot of programming to do here. So every one of these items needs their own buff. I will do we'll do health potion and wooden shield and wooden sword and simple bow. We'll do a couple of these and then you'll see where we go from here. So let's start with the health potion then. So if health potion, and again this is important, you have to make sure this is spelled exactly as it is in the text document. So there's no capitals here, there's one space between the two words, and there's no spaces either at the beginning or at the end. Unless you do that, you're gonna have an issue. Basically, it's not gonna run it. It's gonna work out. So if the health potion is in contents, so this is to say, this is the first check here. It checks that I actually have a health potion. So do I have a health potion first of all? If there is one in contents and my decision X is the same as health potion, so this is to say, what I'm saying here, first of all, do I have a health potion and has the user actually selected to use a health potion? If that is the case, I now write down what it does. So print you add 50 to your health, something like this. And then all we do is I take my character dot health equals character dot health plus 50. I'm just going to check just to make sure that the health is the correct one. Yep, so health is the variable that I want here. And then I just print out. You now have character dot health amount of health. So if they have decided they want to use that, then it now adds that onto the health. The next thing I need to do is I need to run the inventory delete. So I actually need to remove the item from the contents now that I have used it. So if you remember, it was this absolute pig of a piece of code that we put in, which is just a nightmare just to even start looking at. So we're actually going to actually use that thing now. So now that we've used it, we're going to delete it out of here. So inventory delete, and then what is it? It's decision X that we're deleting. Alright, so that is basically it. All I need to now do is I need to carry on programming each of the items. So I use an elif statement for each one of these, and we'll just do the next one. So I'll do the next one here. So wooden shield. So elif wooden, like a lot of this we could just kind of take and then sort of reword it. So elif wooden, make sure there's a speech mark there, wooden shield in contents and decision X equals wooden shield, making sure you done this. So now this spelled correctly is what I mean. So you add 50 to your defense. And then just need to check the variable. I'm pretty sure it is defense. It is defense. So character dot defense equals character dot defense plus 50. You now have character dot defense amount of defense. And then again, it just runs the inventory delete. And you keep doing that until everything in your loot table has been coded, basically, because you don't want an item in your loot table which you can't then add to a buff. If you have something specific like a key or something like that that you want to use in your end game, maybe you want to program something differently. If they've selected to use that, you might want to just say you can't use that here, and then don't run the inventory delete, so that then stays in the loot table, in their inventory. And then so basically, once you've coded all of these, I'm going to pretend that I've finished coding all of these, or else we'll be here all day. We just need to run an else statement here just to finish it off, which is print you do not have that item. So what this is saying basically is that if it works if they've misspelt it or something like that, or if they actually don't have the item in their inventory at the same time. Say they're trying to use they know there's a invisibility cloak and they want to use it, but they haven't actually got that in their inventory. It comes up with it saying you do not have that item, so they might want to type it in, but it will just say you don't have that item, so you can't use it. And that is literally what the inventory use is. So each item has its own buff, and it's up to you to code every single one of those buffs in. So I'm gonna leave that as it is now. So that is the second option. And we're gonna look at the final part of the code today, which is how do you actually run away from a battle. So going back down to where we were. So my last part now, I'm just going to code in quickly the final decision. So decision 3. So if they choose 3, we're basically giving them the chance to run away from the battle. So to miss this battle, if you think you're underpowered for something. So in order to do that, I'm going to make a quick variable here. I'm going to run equals random dot rand int. Now, depending on how high a chance you want them to be able to get away from the battle, you'll choose different numbers here. So this is between 1 to 2. So basically I'm saying here there's a 50-50 chance here. If I did it so it's 1 to 3, there's a 33% chance I'm going to be able to run. If I did it 1 to 4, there's a 25% chance that I will successfully run. But I'm going to do it as a 50-50 chance that I managed to successfully run away from a battle. If run is the same as 1, so if from this random integer here 1 is selected, I will be able to run. So I print got away, and then I just turn the battle state off. Yes, so that is now off. If I didn't make it, so for everything else that gets selected, I now print you didn't make it, basically. You slip when trying to escape. So something like this, I could even put in a debuff here. Maybe they lose 5 health when they're trying to escape and they fail. I don't know. So you slip when trying to escape. You have to fight now. And then I change the decision to 1. So decision to 1 at the top here basically puts them into the attack state. So I'm saying here, I'm not giving them the option to try and run again, to keep trying and running. I'm now forcing them into the attack state, so they have to now attack. And that really is it. We're just going to finish off with a quick else statement. So else, everything else print, number not allowed, and we will just give them the options again. So the decision option, these options here. Oh, actually I've already done it here. So if number is greater than 3, number not allowed. I suppose this this part of the program, if they mistype and they put a letter in or something like that, that will do that. So I'll just write invalid. I'll put that in there. So as long as I have this should now begin to work. So that is all of the programming done. Now all I need to do is I need to just program in the random encounters. So last time we've done this selecting the character. So all I need to do now to finish the whole thing off is I just need to call the functions that I've got. So I have, I've defined the battle state. Now, in the one that I've looked at, I actually have two different battle states, one for ground-based enemies and one for flying enemies. I may add that in as an extension later on down the line, but at the moment, all I did was I took the existing battle state, I changed the enemy list to all flying enemies, and then I changed what they were weakest to and what they were strong against. And then down the bottom, I just called battle state 1 or battle state 2. Depending on whether or not I wanted the ground enemy or the flying enemy. Or you can even do it randomly selected with a random integer. So all I'm going to do now is battle list. Oh, not battle list. So it's just battle state. Yeah, all I need to do now is call battle state. Oh, I bet I didn't do it with a capital S, did I? No, I didn't. So if I call battle state like that, it will run one battle. And all I do is I just call as many of those as I want. So it will randomly select me. So that's 3 battles. It's going to randomly select me from the enemy list. And obviously I can increase that enemy list. I can then say, maybe I want, if they complete 10 battles, I then want to go into a battle state hard, which pulls from enemy list 2, which is like harder enemies or something like that, because I'll have more gear by that point. So this is 3 battle states. Let's have a look, and we'll just finish it off as well. Just calling the inventory show, because it's good to see basically what you've got at the end of it. Let's run this and see if there's any errors. Okay, so far so good. Let's say I'm a warrior. I mean, I need to clean up this a little bit. That's messy coding. This should be on the line underneath, but you guys should do this. Now, warrior has no attribute strength. Let's have a quick look here then. So let's go up to warrior. Correct. Warrior does not have an attribute strength. So let's give him a strength, and to be fair, they're all going to need a strength attribute. So the warrior can have a 100 as his strength. The archer can have a little bit less than 100, so strength equals 75, and then the wizard can have 50. We might need to tinker around with those numbers in a minute, because if we're dividing by strength it might go crazy, but we'll just have a look and see. Okay, so warrior again. Okay, so here I've misspelt character somewhere. Within line 182 is what I'm looking for. So this is good hunting here. We've got our lines down the bottom. 182, it's 236, 202, 180. There it is. Always pay attention to your syntax errors. Run module. Try wizard again. Okay, so a couple of things here. Firstly, if my slash is in the wrong way, you see an enemy coming from a distance. It's a class main .dman dog. Okay, so obviously there's an issue here with this. Get ready to fight though. So let's have a look and see if the rest of it's working. So the attacks, you have 2 options here. Wow, I must have been asleep when I was doing this, because obviously all my slashes are the wrong way around. Let's see if my sword attack is going to work here. Warrior has no attribute called luck. So let's give the warrior a bit of luck. Luck equals 5. They all need some luck now. So luck equals, make them all equally lucky. But what you could do, you could program this so it's like a random amount of luck, which gets selected at the beginning of each game. I'm just going to do a jump cut here quickly, where I firstly stop my cat from making so much noise, and then secondly change those slashes around so it all looks correct. So I'll be back in a second when I've changed those in the battle state so the slashes are correct. So I've just changed those slashes round, and there is something which I've forgotten to do here. So when it selected the enemy, it came up with that weird piece of code. It's basically saying that it's just basically printing out the variable instead of just the name of the variable. A bit of a weird one. So what I did originally to kind of combat it was each one of my enemies had a had their own part. You know, part of them here was their name. And then what I can do is I can just print out this string instead of printing out the actual variable, and that will stop that error from occurring. So I'm just going to write under each one of these, give them all a name here. So name equals, and then inside that name, and then again, name equals dragon, and then name equals demon dog. Now, what should happen now is instead of, well, I need to just finish this off. So now back down to battle state. Here, when it says print, it's a enemy list enemy number. I need to do dot name. So instead of printing the variable, it prints out the string version of the name which is attached to them. Okay, so if we now check this, we'll have a look, see if it works. Okay, warrior again. You can see I've changed all of the. So I've changed the slashes the right way around, so I'm not getting all those weird slashes come off, and also you can see that it's displaying correctly the name of the enemy I'm fighting. It's not displaying the variable, it's displaying the actual string attached to each one. So if I go through attack, you have 3 attack options. Let's try sword. You swing sword. You have defeated. So here again, I haven't done. I've not done the dot name, so I need to do this. So let's have a look at this next issue that I'm getting. So so loot enemies. Then loot table common equals itself dot split. Okay, so I'm going to have a quick look at this. Well, first things first, we're going to do, we're going to get rid of this bit here. And we'll just do that by going into the battle state, and then when we so here you have defeated enemy list enemy number dot name, and that will stop that weird thing coming up there. So I found the issue. It's in the loot subroutine. Basically, where I've copy and pasted this, I've been a little bit sloppy, and what was meant to happen was here on the left hand side it says loot table common, and then we split loot table common. On the right hand side it was meant to mirror what was on the left. So uncommon was then meant to split loot table uncommon. This was meant to split rare, but you can see where I've copied and pasted it. I haven't actually changed this stuff here. And this one's meant to be ultra rare. And then the same for this bit here. So it's sloppy on my part, but you've just got to remember that it's always good practice just to write the whole thing out for yourself, because if you're writing the whole thing out for yourself, you're less likely to make this sort of mistake. Okay, so let's check. Doesn't look like I can see any spelling errors there. Window. Try my warrior again. Okay, I've got a different enemy this time, so we know that the randomization of the enemy is working. And so here again, I need to make sure I change the enemy so it says dot name. So let me change this in a second. Still missing. So I'm keeping on pressing 1. Wow, I'm not having a very good go at this. Maybe try. Okay, so try the magic attack there, and it's not happening at all for me. So Okay, so I found the issue with that part. I was saying that for some reason this part um, was in the wrong data type, but saying that damage was not the correct data type, so I've just put in front of damage here. So this is on line 238. So this is the second attack option. I've just changed it to an integer, and it seems to be working now. But honestly, I'm not sure why that was the issue, because here it is an integer and we're not changing anything about it. So don't know why that is. So if you're having that issue, just change your damages so that they are ints, and that should solve the issue. Um, where is the other bit as well? I would leave that for the time being. If the enemy name pops up again, we'll know where it is. So let's run this again. Okay, fifth or sixth time is the chart. Right, let's attack with the sword. Okay, so seems to be attacking here. Okay, so what's happened here is that I've finally gone through that. I finally managed to defeat that ghost. What you could do if you're testing this, just put your character's attack right the way up so it just kills them in one hit. Put the chance of a miss down to 0 as well, because then you don't have any issues here. What I need to do is I obviously need to change, make sure this is not calling the variable name, it's calling the dot name that we put inside the variable. So they've dropped a ranger bow, so let's check to see the inventory is working. So 2. You had the following in your inventory: ranger bow. Okay, this part here is a test that we put in. I can remove that print afterwards. So what would you like to use? Now this is going to throw up an error because I've not actually typed in, I've not actually coded the ranger bow, but all I would do is do ranger bow, and this, it's not going to throw up an error, it should actually say you don't have that in your inventory, so let's try it. You do not have the following in your inventory, so what would you like to use? Go press enter. See, I've got a bit of an issue now. Got myself into a situation where I can't actually get out of this without using something, but I don't have anything to use. So that's why you need to make sure that you code everything properly. Let's go into the inventory, not that one, the loot table, and as all I've done is these, cut out everything else just for testing it, save it like that. So now, I need the shield in there. Save it like that. So now my loot table has 2 options to drop, basically. Ah, right. It's now coming up with this error because I've not coded all the other bits of the loot table. Because the dragon was an ultra rare, I've not programmed that part of the loot table. So I'm going to change all of the rarity to 1 because this is the only thing that I've programmed. And then I'm going to change my warrior strength to 500, and we're going to see finally if this is going to work. Wow. Okay. Right. So that's done it now. Finally. So it's dropped a wooden shield. Let's check the inventory. There it is. What would you like to use? Wooden shield. So I've programmed this already. Press enter. There we go. You now have 100 defense, wooden shield, you have the following in your inventory, what would you like to use? So now I'm still programmed myself into this loop, so I need to check the inventory check part. Right, the reason it was cycling round and round and not coming out of the inventory is because I actually here, I'm just cycling round again and again. Once I've done inventory use, I need to tell the program that I'm done with that piece of the subroutine. So I'm going to turn the battle state back on. So I turned it off for this, and I actually set it here that that I would need to turn it back on. So my battle state now equals 1. And I just give them the decision again. So decision equals int input, wherever it is. There it is. Okay, so we've done lots of testing now. Fingers crossed that this is the one that's gonna work. So, warrior. Okay, attack. Okay. So it's still pulling from loot table uncommon. So what I'm going to do, just for testing it for the time being, because if you set everything out as it is, it should be fine. But for some reason, still pulling the dragon from that one there. So let's get rid of him, and let's just see. We can just choose these ones. Let's just test it. I'll be able to take the chance of a miss off in a minute. Okay, so I defeated the first item. It's giving me a wooden shield, so let's check the inventory. So we can see here there's a wooden shield inside that. So let's use the wooden shield. You now have 52 defense. You now have 100 defense. I can now carry on my attack. Okay, let's drop the second wooden shield. So let's check the inventory. What would you like to use? Wooden shield. There we go. It's now, this bit here is just showing us that it's showing us the inventory before, the inventory removed, and then the inventory stripped down without the speech marks. Let's attack again. So if you look at these numbers, what you should see is that because you're adding more to your defense, their attacks are getting less and less, and so on. Okay, and then another wooden shield. So I've got a wooden shield there at the end, and then it put it into my inventory. So there is obviously lots more testing to be done on this. What I would do now is I would go back into here. I would put the enemies back in that I've removed. I would carry on coding all of my loot table, and then I would just practice, carry on going, carry on going. I'd put 10 battle states in and see where I get from that. But as an overall, you now have a working text adventure which allows you to select a character, pull from a loot table, and randomly creates battles for you based on character classes that you've created. I'm sorry that that was such a testing based one today, but testing is a big part of this, and a lot of those errors were a bit of an issue. I'm not sure if there was any other way around them, a lot of the way we did it. So if you found different ways of doing stuff, let me know in the comments. If you found ways of extending it, let me know that as well. I may end up putting more into this video, but as it stands at the moment, into these guides. As it stands at the moment, I think our text adventure has come to an end, and I would love to hear what you guys thought of it and what you guys came up with. So let me know, and I hope, I'm sorry it's so long, and I do hope that you've got a little bit from this. Alright, thanks a lot.